Tuesday, the 2nd of May, and what matters is not to know the world, but to change it. Do you know who said that? Frans Fanon. Today, Oros, Bunny Licks, Panado syrup aftertaste, kak mixer drink. These are some of the words used to describe Prime, as parents all over South Africa furiously Google who the hell is KSI and his crypto conman partner Logan Paul. Also, former Provincial Secretary of the EFF in the Western Cape joins the Patriotic Alliance. I'll talk to NAZIER Paulsen about this. He's with me in studio. Meanwhile, Ace Magashule and Edwin Sodi are in the dock on Friday after their legal challenge to the Supreme Court of Appeal fails. They are linked to wrongdoing in a 225 million rand asbestos tender scheme. I'm Roscoe Palm. The track you just heard is The Come Up by Audio Binger, and I'm with Nantle Hopley. Nantle, last night's conversation was something else.
I always say when I'm done with the podcast, I say that's my favorite podcast. But that one, it was worth it. It was 2 hours and something.
2 hours and 12 minutes.
But the honesty of that guy, man. It was. I'm going to say this, I always say this, and I'm going to say it again. Ryan says that all the conversation that we have, it's energy, right? So all that energy sits here. I'm glad that the guy shared his energy, man. Because the thing is, a lot of people, we just overlook people that's homeless, unhoused. And it's great to hear somebody that achieved something before he was homeless, and afterwards he's achieving still. Yeah. And he's taking that experience and is making it worthwhile, all that suffering that he went through. But I would really, if anybody's listening to this one, go to that podcast. Just mention his name, Carlos.
Carlos Mesquita.
Just a brilliant person.
Now, we are going to make sure that we distribute clips of yesterday's conversation wherever we can, because it was just such a, it was an honor. It felt like an honor to and these are things that the conversations that are being hidden away from.
Yeah, from it's like a subculture in Cape Town. We already segregated. We're living worlds apart, classes, races, through race, class, and stuff like that. And now we have this, and there's people living in the mountains that we don't even know of, man. It's sad, man. We should take care of ourselves, of each other, man. The vulnerable, you know what I'm saying? The old, especially what he said about the old people in the shelters. Sure, man. No, man. We should do our part, man.
So we can do that. We can start that by spreading the word. So I want to talk about Prime just briefly, and the launch was crazy, and I sound like a boomer, but like I don't think this is a worthwhile thing. Let's. I mean, it made a lot of money. Yep. How much money did it make?
The numbers?
Yeah, we want the numbers.
What are we dealing with here?
All right.
Come on.
Oh,
God.
In year one,
we
cleared $110 million in retail sales.
Oh, wow.
Jeez.
Sorry, excuse me. 250 million in retail sales.
Oh, sorry. That was a little mistake.
110 million gross internally. In January of this year, we did 45 million.
Oh, only in January?
Yeah.
Okay, that's all good and well. Yeah, that's fine. But, Logan Paul is a crypto con man. But what does this stuff actually taste like? I'm not prepared to. I don't want to waste my money.
My son had it. He says it's nothing to write home about. And he likes Logan Paul, so he won't say that unless it's really tastes like ass.
Okay. Nazir, have you tasted Prime?
Look, it doesn't taste much different from your hydrate that you buy in sachets. That was the hydrate that was on sale yesterday. It wasn't the energy drink or the other one for bulking up. So it was the hydrate, so it doesn't taste any different. Nothing special, really.
I think the authoritative review on on Prime comes from your daughter.
Yeah.
There's a TikTok of your daughter reviewing Prime. Do we have that one? Okay, I must still send it to you, but let me just find that for you. But in the meantime, I'm with NAZIER Paulsen, And as soon as I publicized, I tweeted out there that you were going to join us, Nazier. I just that post got like just a shower of hate. You know,
Yeah.
why do you think in the online spaces, you know, like among a particular cohort, I just direct so much poison at you?
Well, I don't know. I probably represent something that people fear unnecessarily, or an organization, or maybe it's also they think they know the type of person I am and that I should be hated. And I think what has happened over the past couple of years, I realized I need to have a very thick skin. I'm not money. I won't be liked by everyone.
How do you cultivate that thick skin?
Okay. Well, it's very simple. I've got a very loving and supportive family base, brothers, sisters, my kids, my ex-wives, very supportive. So I think that helps me. Those are the important people in your life. When they ever feel disappointed in you, then you've got to sit up and say, wait, something's wrong here. But while your kids are happy with you, while they enjoy being around you, you obviously, those are the more important things in your life. Obviously, I'm a public representative. I also serve people out there. So those people, the people who are members of the EFF, the communities where I work in, I don't get that hatred. There's nothing but love. Gogos come and they hug me and they kiss me, so those are important things. Social media, it's a bit of I'd like to use a very crude word, but I'm not going to. It's sometimes not, the fact that it's social media and there's this massive barrier between you and that person, they feel free to just say the ugliest of things, and that's fine.
Do you think there's something inherently threatening about the EFF's program that maybe serves as a lightning rod for a lot of the vitriol that you receive?
I think people are just, the South Africans are just very nasty people. It's one of the failings of our democracy is that we've never built a sense of nationhood amongst the people of this country, that we hate for no particular reason, and that we've got some serious issues to deal with.
Well, that was the whole point of the Rainbow Nation, right? 1994, was that just like a gimmick?
A Rainbow Nation, it's not something that just happens. It's going to take work, and we haven't done any work to achieve that Rainbow Nation. There was no sense of building a common understanding of what it is we want to achieve as a nation and how we should be treating one another. We just thought, okay, we're going to have democracy now and everything will just fall into place. And it didn't happen. And I don't think there was the political will to focus on those important programs to build a sense of nationhood amongst people.
As we're sitting now, South Africa is one of the most unequal nations in the world.
Yeah. Yes, and we don't realize how important it is that we have to address that state of inequality, and a lot of people say, but no, is it fair? There's a difference between fairness and equality. Fairness is having 4 apples and giving 2 people 2 each, but what if the one already has so many apples and you're going to give them just more now? So equality means that you have to take better care of some people, because they started at a disadvantage in this democracy. There are people that started with generational wealth. It's been in their generation for centuries or decades. And then there are people that are very poor that have started with nothing. And now those that are really affluent expect to be given the same amount of privilege as those that are really poor. And that is where the problem starts in our democracy, is that, the privileged people expect to be treated and given as much as those who have absolutely had no privilege and still have no privilege.
So the ANC has been in power since 1994,
Yes.
and the EFF is, and shall we call it, it sprung from the loins of the ANC.
Yeah.
Is it not? Where are the policy divisions between the EFF and the ANC?
I think the real difference comes in political will. The ANC still panders to the sensibilities of the privileged white group in this country, and that's the truth.
How do they do that, and why do you say that?
Well, they had a golden opportunity since 2014 when the EFF first entered Parliament, where collectively together, the ANC and the EFF, at a 2/3 majority, they could have decided to change the Section 25 of the Constitution to expropriate land without compensation.
But the ANC does have a policy of expropriation with no compensation.
There's a
What's the difference between expropriation with no compensation and expropriation without compensation?
With no compensation, you have to meet with certain criteria, right? So you also have to go through. If we had said land expropriation without compensation, we expropriate all land. The state then becomes the custodian of all land. When you say no compensation, now you must still determine. So some people could be exempted from expropriation of land, whereas we are saying all land should be expropriated. And if you look at the state we're in now, we'll drive up here the West Coast, there's vast tracts of land lying vacant, owned by some guy overseas. And we need that land. We need land to build new cities. We haven't built new cities in the new South Africa. If we are truly a developing nation, we need to develop cities, new cities, that we can identify as cities of a democratic era. There's none of that. There isn't even your university built post-1994 that can be considered an institution to rival universities built prior to 1994.
Solidarity built a university.
I haven't seen it. They talk about it. I have to see it.
Do you not think that we should maybe have more of a collective approach that, say, like a Solidarity and an AfriForum has? They pool their money and resources together and they do stuff. Okay, it would be great if they did things for people, in a more inclusive way.
Yeah. Well, we first and foremost I have two issues with that particular statement. One is that Solidarity, what they do is to maintain that white privilege. It's probably going to be a Afrikaans language university as well, which I also don't mind. But language should never be used to exclude certain people, right? That's the one problem. The other, when you say we, then I think it's black, African, colored, and maybe Indian to a large extent. We don't have the kind of money that those people have. Remember, they have gotten land for free. They could farm. They could build industry. They've got money. They should be able to build universities. They should not. This is why we need to expropriate land, because they're always going to have that advantage.
Do you draw a distinction between expropriating private property and personal property? In the sense, personal property would be this MacBook, this phone.
No.
Private property would be, let's say, for example, if I have 5 small holdings. You expropriate.
Yeah, let's say private property. Let's say that to mean immovable property like land. That is what we're talking about. Immovable property. And
in the redistribution of the resources, there are going to be winners and losers.
I don't think there'll be losers, because people who have benefited from land benefited so illegitimately. People came and took land. They came under the guise of, we are just using this land to grow vegetables for our ships that pass these shores, but it's your land. And in the end, that land was enclosed and people were saying, no, you can't come onto this land. It's now our land. We've developed it.
But you can understand that why there's institutional resistance to the EFF.
Yes, of course, because people want to keep hold on to their ill-gotten gains. And if we look at the Cape, for example, if you go and look at certain cave writings and everything, there were people that lived here that have suffered a serious genocide under colonialism. The Khoi and the San roamed these shores. They farmed with cattle. They grew crops. Because those ships came here, they didn't come here just for fresh water. They also came here to stock their ships with meat and vegetables that they bought from the locals here. So, and they saw the great business opportunity to actually set up post here, farm here, and actually just colonize the whole of the Cape. So, and if one looks at where are the descendants and who are the descendants of those Khoi and San, it's the majority of the people in the Cape. I don't think there's anyone that can say that he doesn't have some Khoi ancestry.
A lot of colored people do. They deny that part of them. You know, they'll never bring up the black side.
So when those European men and those men from the east came to the Cape, you know, they came here alone, and they got married. Who did they get married to? They got married to the local women. So we all have Khoi ancestry, even many white people as well.
So even with the EFF's program of redistribution of land that was taken from the ancestors of the colored people, as we know, so-called colored people, as we know, that's co-ord to exist in the Western Cape, the EFF hasn't really penetrated electorally into the Western Cape in the electorate. Why do you think that is?
Well, mainstream media has done a pretty good job of demonizing the EFF. So
I can understand that, but the two things can be true without it equaling.
So as an example, so we did this Nakba march in 2015. So, and Nakba is actually the catastrophe in Palestine where the Zionists set up a state and superimpose a Zionist state on Palestinian land. So the commemoration of the Nakba is commemorating that catastrophe. And we had a march, at the Nakba march in 2015. And I meet this lady now. You know, one of the problems with the Palestinian cause is that many people view it as a religious issue where it isn't. It's not. It's a human rights issue. You know, any colonization of land is a human rights issue. So this lady says, you're okay, but the problem I have with you want to take the white people's land. I said, really? I said, where do you live? I live in Mitchells Plain. I said, oh, okay, where in Mitchells Plain? Because I know it very well. I live in a windy house in my daughter's yard. An adult woman worried about living in a windy house. She's a backyard dweller, and she's worried about us taking white people's land. So you see, the problem that exists is, number one, people don't realize that they have as much right to land in South Africa, whether you're African, colored, Indian, working class white people as well, have a right to land as much as those who are more affluent white people who have vast tracts of land. You look at Stellenbosch, and so the media has said that land expropriation, they say, will affect investment. There's been no expropriation of land, and yet we have been grey listed, right? So with or without land expropriation, we will suffer disinvestment, and not because of the existence of the EFF, but because of the poor governance of the ANC.
Well, the ANC has been in power since 1994. Do you think that the ANC is serious about land redistribution?
No, they're not.
Why?
If they were, they would have accepted our offer and said, look, we don't care what those minority parties of the DA and Freedom Front Plus and those right-wing ACDP people say. We will now amend Section 25 to expropriate land without compensation.
But that was in 2014.
Yeah.
In 2016, the EFF made a deal with the DA. So you understand
which deal was that?
That was in 2016 to the Jacob Zuma. They made a deal in Joburg with the DA. So that sort of left a bad taste in the mouth.
No, we didn't make a deal with the DA. What we did was teach the ANC a lesson. So you remember, the ANC governed all the major metros in Gauteng. It's a massive budget. I mean, those three metros, Tshwane, Johannesburg, Ekurhuleni, the budget for those three metros, probably equivalent to the budget for all the other metros. And this allowed, when the ANC controlled those three metros, along with Gauteng, they could build up their politics of patronage. And that is what they used to fund the ANC. When we removed the ANC from power in those three metros, you started seeing serious cracks in the ANC. Everything at Luthuli House will now be attached by the creditors, right? So why does this happen? So how did you pay things before? By using taxpayers' money, by using ratepayers' money in those three metros.
I mean, can the EFF prove it? Can they? Have there been any investigations?
Well, they don't control any metro now, and they're running into serious financial problems. They can't even support their by-election campaigns. They don't have money to. Where did they get the money from? And the same will happen if we remove the DA from power in the Western Cape. They will wither away in other provinces.
I do want to talk about the Western Cape a little bit further, but I just want to stay on this issue. The path to power for the EFF, it's not an outright majority. I mean, to go from the percentage that you are at now to going to cabinet, that would require a coalition of sorts. And, you know, if you just look at the maths, an alliance with the ANC, between the ANC and the EFF, would then possibly, I would say, give the EFF the leverage that it wants. But that's dependent on the ANC going underneath 50% in the next elections. And that's not really certain. That's not a certain.
No, that's a definite.
I don't know.
The ANC used to perform very well in Johannesburg. They're just slightly over 50% in Gauteng now. Right?
Do you think that
I don't think that they have the leadership to claw back into power in Gauteng. They are set to lose Gauteng. They are set to lose Northwest. They will lose Free State. We've showed them last Wednesday.
What happened last Wednesday?
We beat them in a by-election, convincingly. We put up the same candidate we put up in 2021, and we beat them. So we've showed them, in KZN they're set to lose. The Eastern Cape, if we look at the Nelson Mandela Bay municipality or metro, they govern with a coalition. There with these coalitions, the ANC won't perform well.
That's the thing. You know, that original coalition between the EFF and the DA in 2016 or that arrangement, or however we want to term it. I think that sort of, it let the genie out the bottle. It opened Pandora's box, and now we have very unstable municipalities, because it's kind of set a precedent for anything's on the table.
Yeah, I think it's very important that a coalition shouldn't be as a result of, okay, so we didn't win. Now, who do we have a coalition with? I think you need to sort out who your partners are long before the wedding.
That's why they're doing this Moonshot Apollo 13 thing. That's just disintegrating before our very eyes, just like the real Apollo 13.
I think the important thing there is that the DA have made certain assumptions, uneducated guesses, saying that, okay, we are the more dominant political party, so everyone should dance to our tune. We must set the tone, they just have to rubber stamp it. I think that is a very wrong approach. I think both the more prominent DA leaders have that approach, both the Gogo, both the Gogo and the head boy, the headmistress and the head boy have that approach, that we set the tone, everyone else must just rubber stamp or fall in line. That is very wrong. You know, there's that, if one sees what happened with our brother Gayton McKenzie wanted to become the Johannesburg mayor, and you'd have been successful had he had the support of the DA. But obviously, you can imagine the DA looking and saying, why must we give this guy the mayorship? We want someone from our ranks. If you look at what the ANC and the EFF did, where they had a coalition, that we even gave it to a party that has only 3 seats in Johannesburg.
It's still not the model for stability.
Look,
though.
it's not the
That's
model of stability, but what it does show is that there's a principle here.
I think I've the opposite. I don't think there's principles. I think it's more like it's a mathematical game.
Look, it's we don't trust the ANC and the ANC don't trust us, but so let's give it to someone else and we support that person.
I mean, it's kind of the approach is not really sort of unified. It's a case by case scenario.
Look, and the important thing is we're prepared to look at what works. In the case of that Moonshine Pact,
I still think that's a good.
the Moonshine Pact is going to leave you with a hangover. So, and it's giving people hangovers already. So, in the case of the Moonshot Pact or whatever it is, it's based on the dictatorship of one political party, and everyone has to just follow suit.
Be that as
I
it
think
may.
the good thing amongst the coalition that governed Johannesburg before, that there wasn't a sense of, no, let's split these things up amongst ourselves. We are the bigger 2 parties here. All right? I don't think there was that level of stupidity that you find amongst a DA-led coalition. And it's what's going to make that coalition attempt fail is the arrogance, is the short-sightedness. And it's going to, and it's looking more and more like it would be your former apartheid beneficiaries, including the IFP, that would support that. The ACDP, IFP, DA Light, Freedom Front Plus.
See, the where I keep coming back to, I think it's pragmatic.
Yeah.
It's pragmatic, but it's difficult to negotiate those first principles with already established political parties. And it's even today. Before I get to that, I think do we want to address these?
Yeah,
Do we want to?
it's entirely.
I mean, you know.
You can choose which one you want to.
I mean, yeah, this is sort of like look, Nazir, you get engagement. Put it that way.
Lots, yeah.
So, this just echoes some of the Twitter things when I publicize the thing, like people saying the stuff about you. I don't really see any politics there. The slaughtering of whites.
Who said that?
People on Facebook. Oh, one guy. Yeah, that dude. Herman. So, do you want to respond to Herman, maybe? Or he says...
Did I make that statement? We're not calling for the slaughtering of whites, at least not for now.
I think that came to... That's... Julius said that once.
Yeah.
I think he said that once.
White people can become very irritating. So how do you remove irritation? I mean, we swat mosquitoes and stuff like that, and here we have white people irritating us about silly little things.
Do you think Julius Malema will become the president of South Africa?
I'm convinced.
He's also convinced. Do you have that clip about Julius being convinced that he's going to become the president of South Africa? And then we'll talk about... Yes, that one. Let's do that.
Okay, it's very nice.
Phones on?
I know this one.
At name. So that is the context I'm using it. So please, if you are going to be a legal representative, you are going to have to reduce yourself from this case as an individual. Remove your emotions and deal with me as a professional. Because if you are going to come to me as a personal person, individually, I will no longer look at you as a professional. I will decisively deal with you as an individual. I'm going to be president of this country, whether you like it or not. And I will preside over the affairs of this country, including presiding over you. I think you must start adjusting to that reality. The sooner you do that, the less chest pains you'll have when that reality comes.
What chest pains would result?
Racist chest pains. You know, my lord, we're sitting here with pain, with trauma, and to be interrogated by people like this, who perpetuate the segregation, who continue to promote racism in this country. It's really unfair. Thousands of children have seen their mothers being tortured. I was young when police walked into my mother's house and she was sleeping. They took off her blankets off. Men, she was not dressed up. She was sleeping. Men took off her blankets. I live with that for the rest of my life, that some strange men came into my house and took off the blankets of my mother to search if she's not a terrorist.
Apartheid was traumatic. Poverty is traumatic. Inequality is traumatic. And that's where the EFF connects on an emotional level.
Look, poverty is violence. It's the worst kind of violence you can experience. Going to bed hungry at night, not having a place to sleep at night, that's violence. Listening to Carlos Mosquito last night. I mean, what homeless people experience is the worst kind of violence. You have no security, no safety. You are left out there to the elements. And people feel it's okay. So a lot of those ugly things which people say to me, it's never political. It's rude. And I will be rude back to them.
You're rude back.
I'm rude right back. If you want me to be nice, then be nice. But don't be rude to me and expect because I'm a public representative, I must be nice to you. Don't accuse me of beating women and stuff like that because it's ugly. I would never do something like that. There's a video of me just processing a young man. There's a woman shouting, and to them, I'm beating the woman. And the guy is shouting.
I actually wanted to ask you, a few weeks ago, the video resurfaced. I was actually tagged in it, and the person didn't know. And I told the person, no, this is an old video. So my question would be, why would it was very suspicious that why would it come up again?
It's an unknown person who lives there in Nelson Mandela Bay municipality, who's trying to, it's like in boxing. You think you're quiet now, you want to go and challenge the boxing champion. And you were, a local boxer there in the village. So it was some village guy that wanted to create a reputation for him. But I must also tell you that, as much as there's laws to protect all of us, I am also able to use those legal avenues to protect myself and my family, because my daughter's a 13-year-old. She's on that video. She never gave permission. I never gave permission. Her mother never gave permission. Her mother is as infuriated by that video going viral, so that someone can go and generate traffic to his TikTok or wherever. And we will exercise every right we have in law to get justice. Because, and this is exactly it. If I want to use a video with someone, I'm not going to use a video where his daughter's on and old ladies on, innocent people. Come for me, it's fine. But leave my family out of it. If you're going to go for my family, I'm going to go for you. And I promise, I may have been quiet about it for the past couple of weeks, but I'm not finished with it. I'm working very hard to get justice for my family and myself. Because what is said on there also, gender-based violence. Where was I eating a woman there? I would never raise my hands. I've never raised my hands for a woman. I was raised by 2 women. I was breastfed by a Xhosa lady.
Are you saying that you're going to take out legal
I'm going to
protection?
I promise you here now, I'm taking him to the cleaners. I don't know, I forget his name sometimes. Because it's some local guy there in Eastern Cape. I've been deployed around the country. I'm national. I've been deployed to world bodies as part of the South African. I'm international. I'm not worried about some small-time guy there who always seems in trouble with his hatred towards gay people, black people. Some people are just horrible.
I saw a TikTok with a guy who maybe coincidentally happens to live in that area, also a councillor. Can we bring up that one? And this one he was particularly triggered by, with the EFF giving assistance not to the poor, but even worse, to poor white people.
Oh, okay.
Oh shit.
Kenton Park.
Yeah.
Let's
Oh
go
no,
to
not this one. This one, the other one.
This one?
No. The oh wait, I'll send you the link right now. Check it out. I'll send it to you. But this particular person has a lot of the time to send vitriol to you.
Yeah.
I've seen this person on TikTok, and it comes back to the original thing about like there's a protection, a larger mentality of these resources, and a partitioning of the wealth away from the poor, away from effectively the underclass. But I still can't understand like why you receive so much vitriol. While that loads, look, coming back to...
well, I should be receiving a lot of vitriol, Roscoe. I'm deployed here in the Western Cape. We are going to beat the DA here in the Western Cape. Whites are seeing the future and it's making them angry. There will no longer be a white colony, a white supremacy colony led by ailing matriculant.
But okay, let's talk about your traction in the Western Cape. We can bring up the elections map, because you are the head of elections for the EFF in the Western Cape. Let's go to the Western Cape. So that's in the Western Cape. The last results, admittedly, the local election.
Yeah.
And this is why I don't think the ANC are going to get under 50% in 2024, because midterm elections, like local government elections, they have a much, much lower turnout. The ANC feeds of a high turnout.
Yeah.
And there was COVID, and there were a lot of other factors at play.
Well, Roscoe, last week, the turnout in those by-elections was as good as the 2021 elections. And what does it tell you? We've done poorly in the KZN. We've won a by-election in the Free State, Paul Roux. We have grown an election result in Hermanus from 3% to 16%. The ANC dropped from 56% to 37%.
It's a small sample size, though.
It's small sample size, but it shows that what's possible. You must know the demographics of that particular Ward 5, Zwelihle, is the demographics of more than 40% of the wards across the Western Cape. So the kind of demarcation, engineering that the DA did with that ward never served them. We got 3% in 2021 and 16% in 2023. I'm happy with that.
Now, in the Western Cape, you're going to have to basically pull a rabbit out of a hat.
No,
It's a hard job.
I think we've started working on it. You must know, up until now, the EFF has gone after voters that we never registered. We've gone after the voters that were registered by IEC, ANC, DA. We are now registering our own voters. There is over 11 million eligible voters not registered to vote. We've set our target to register a substantial amount of those voters by next year.
How are you targeting these younger voters?
Well, we are more appealing than the ANC or the DA.
I mean, are you really? Because young people just aren't voting.
And that is why I'm saying that we're going to go and register them to vote. But what we've also discovered that there are 20-year-olds that should have at least voted once or twice that have never registered to vote, that are registering to vote for the first time because finally there's a message that resonates with them.
What's the message, though?
And that's the message that people they've had this apathy about politics, especially here in the Western Cape. I think the Western Cape, I've worked around the country. The Western Cape is by far the worst. People hate politicians here. And I think that has favored the DA to a large extent because people always feel that the reason why things are bad for them is because of the ANC. It's never about that there's an administration here in the Western Cape that has got a greater influence as to what happens in the Western Cape than the ANC.
What's that factor that drives that almost projection of the ANC in the minds of the voter as the enemy?
Well, it's the DA.
But I'm saying they would rather, as you said, as that woman said, they're taking the white people's land.
Yes.
They, so-called colored people standing in defense.
Exactly, and they are saying that, if you take this land, right? If you take this land, we can't grow crops here, we can't grow vegetables here. As if white people have ever gone and put their hands in the soil and planted anything. It's done by African and colored people. They work those farms. I think when we expropriate land and we give it to emerging African and colored farmers, we will drastically reduce the levels of hunger and poverty in this province especially. But right now, we rely on white-owned farms to provide our every sustenance.
I mean, what you're saying is not entirely wrong, but it's also theoretical in the sense that for the EFF to implement its policies, it has to win national power. And it can only win national power as a junior partner in a coalition with the ANC?
Well, Roscoe, the ANC is not a homogeneous political party. There are elements in the ANC would most likely, especially those foolish ones up there in Gauteng, open the door to coalition with the DA. And then there are ones that would rather have a coalition with the EFF. And I think that particular problem is a problem for the ANC. But I don't think that the DA would be doing well enough to give the ANC their 50% plus one. Everyone is going to... The Western Cape provides the DA with a substantial share of their vote. And if you look at the parties that's going to be feeding off the DA voter base, I think it's going to be drastically reduced. That they will not be in a position to be the only coalition partner to make up the 50% plus one. They will have to rely on too many other partners. So the Freedom Front Plus will take some of the vote because the racist right wing don't feel well represented by the DA. And then you will get your likes of your Kensington and Nova Park and Manenberg, Mitchell's Plain that have options now outside of the DA or ANC or even EFF that will substantially reduce the DA vote.
That comes back to my thing about cooperating based on first principles.
Yes.
Today, the former provincial secretary of the EFF, Melikaya, he joined the Patriotic Alliance. That's basically like somebody from Manchester City joining Manchester United or Liverpool joining Everton,
Yeah. Look,
what's the story behind that?
He was the provincial secretary for one term, and then afterwards he became provincial chairperson. He lost the Provincial People's Assembly last year, not even 6 months ago. Well, I must say, I wish him well. I wish him success in the Patriotic Alliance.
He's a good guy.
I have no issues with
Yeah.
him. I just don't think that his leadership was able to grow the EFF in the Western Cape. The current leadership, very energetic, very vibrant. They are improving on election results of 2021. So I think that is the measure of the capacity of the current leadership.
I still think it's strange to jump from that particular party to that particular party.
Well, it
speaks to first principles.
Yeah, look,
I'm not. Look, I'm not.
Yeah,
I can't be the
exactly.
guy who judges somebody for-
So that is why I say, if the EFF were ever to expel me, there are no options for me.
That's it.
I'll have to go and start EFF version
EFF
2.
light.
Can I just ask a question with regards to jumping and what different parties? Not really jumping, but when you were talking about the farming and who was actually doing the farming, something came to mind. It's a sense of lack of self-worth that colored people have and some black people have, and I think the apartheid did a very good job of doing that.
The colored people of the Western Cape, let's be honest, it's the apartheid success story. But really it is. So and we need to work very hard to motivate colored people that you don't need white monopoly capital when you can have an economy where you can have a greater stake in, other than just that of a consumer.
So my question is, I see another party that also tries to instill self-worth, and that's the CCC with Fadil Adams. So, what do you think of Fadil? I don't know what he's doing personally.
I don't have issues with him, but except for the fact that, this South Africa is wealthy enough, big enough for people to coexist and respect the dignity of each and every one. So, yes, sure, we are not saying that we want to drive white people into the sea. There's no way where it says that. There's no way where the EFF says we want to drive white people into the sea. We have white members, it's economic freedom fighters. It's not white-colored African economic freedom fighters. It must never be. We are a Marxist, Leninist, Fanonian party, right? So our ideology is that favors the poor and working class. We don't say poor and working class African, colored, Indian. It's poor and working class, including white. So we even have branches in white suburbs. We have branches with almost completely white members, because the message of the EFF resonates with the poor.
And I think the media also does a very good job with not showing that side.
No,
of
they
the
wouldn't.
party. So with that, I was just want to tell you, it's important for you guys to actually do platforms like this, long form, where you can explain yourself better, because what the media does is just take the clips.
Yeah.
Like the previous person said, he has his own vision of version of you.
Yeah.
So much respect for doing stuff like this.
Yes.
You know?
No, and that's why I think it's very important and to give people an opportunity also to engage and to ask the questions that you ask.
The other day, I thought it was a masterstroke. But also it shows a little bit of I would say, the two sides of the EFF in a way.
Yes.
And the separation of a traditional base to sort of leadership. When Julius Malema came out against Uganda's homophobia bill, do you think that the base, the EFF is sort of maybe characterized or mischaracterized as a very masculine, patriarchal, sort of traditional conservative party, because that's generally the makeup of your base? What do you think the members felt about Malema's showing solidarity with the LGBTQIA plus community?
Well, it's even in the founding manifesto, we speak about the protection of vulnerable groups like the LGBTIQ groups. So obviously we've taken on that position that nowhere must people be judged on their sexual orientation, just like they should not be judged on the color of their skin. It's also wrong to judge people on their sexual orientation or gender orientation.
So you won't be changing that part of the constitution?
No, certainly not. In fact, we should strengthen the implementation of the protection of the LGBTIQ community, because we still have something as archaic as corrective rape in our communities. So we should strengthen that. But once again, Roscoe, it comes down to there's no sense of respecting the dignity of other people. I mean, you can see the vitriol that I have to deal with. Those are people, those are real people that think it's okay to say things like that. That's a real person, a public representative of the DA, who thought that he could abuse a video containing a minor child, innocent people, for his own gains. Now that is, in fact, Ronaldo Gous epitomizes the failure of our democracy, that white people still think it's okay to disrespect people.
Yeah. No, I agree. We can have a whole discussion about that guy, but I'd prefer not to, because...
I'm international. He's there, local, somewhere on the Summer Strand.
Yeah.
In fact, I've got his address.
We're not going to dox. The other thing I want to talk about is the EFF as a Marxist-Leninist Fanonian party, and also with strands with traditional Pan-Africanism. I think it's very important to be... Pan-Africanism is a very important thing in terms of...
Yes.
But then I think it was 2 years ago, where members of the high-ranking members of the EFF went to check on the refugee or residency status of workers.
Yeah.
How do you square that circle?
No. They didn't go and look at the what was important, and I think the message gets put out very incorrectly. What we are saying is that people that come into South Africa from neighboring countries are very vulnerable, right? So they are willing to work for far less than what the locals are willing to work for. So people are employing people from neighboring countries rather than South African people, because you can get away with bigger profits because you're paying, you have a lower salary bill.
I mean, I don't want to gotcha you, but you understand now that comes sort of...
Yeah. And so I think, right, if you're going to employ someone from Zimbabwe, the DRC, employ him at the same rate you're going to employ a local.
Then it comes down to enforcement.
No. Then, look, those people are willing to work for anything because they want to stay here. They want to survive here. So they were willing to work for very little. It's like a modern form of slavery.
It just feels like having somebody, there's a power imbalance in having members of the Central Command team coming to...
So we are saying papers. That we also want, when you employ local, you shouldn't be employing those people because you're employing them for cheaper. Because if you were to pay them the same price, you'd much rather employ a local, isn't it? So it was more about, it's not just protecting the local workforce, but also protecting those people from exploitation. And they are exploited. And we have to accept that those people who come here from neighboring countries, they are here to stay. Those people that came here from 1652, they're still irritating us here in this country, 350 odd years later. So, but you expect that those people that came here a few years ago must leave now. That's wrong.
So one of the things that I actually really wanted to talk to you about was the National Shutdown.
Yeah.
It's sort of the EFF, the caricature of the EFF in a nutshell, in a way. I wouldn't say it's the EFF in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Now the shutdown, you planned it for a very long time. You had the time to choose I'm not you personally, Nazir,
yeah,
Paulsen,
but the CCT, yeah.
You chose the day, and the day came, and people did stay away from home, but there was really, it was an opportunity for law enforcement officials to earn very easy overtime that day. We know it wasn't well supported.
Yeah.
Do you think it was a success?
Definitely. We had 3 days of uninterrupted power supply. Our communities were safer because the police were there.
It's true. We saw all kinds of different police that only bring out the cupboard for like Springbok rugby matches at Greenpoint Stadium.
So they were there. They were out in full force. But so it shows we made the state work and show it's what they are capable of doing.
Yeah, I understand.
So that is the importance of the EFF. You're going to have to really pull up your socks. We will force you to. So now do you see why you should have a government where the EFF plays a role? And we're going to be part of that government. We most likely have the presidency in that government as well.
Look, the shutdown thing, my take on this, and I've said this to you, but I think it's time we have this conversation like in public. I think the cause is completely just. The ESCOM thing is a complete fuck up. It's a National Party fuck up. It's an ANC fuck up. It's a societal fuck up. It's a corruption fuck up. So the cause is just. You know, the plan, grandiose and broad for a national shutdown along the lines of the great general strikes of the early 20th century. But like. We love long weekends in South Africa. So having the shutdown on a Monday before the public holiday the Tuesday, telling people to stay at home but come out on Monday. I think it was a big ask. So even though people are ready to respond to the message, they weren't ready to have the messenger be that.
No,
the activism.
Yeah. Look, so last Wednesday we had the by-election in the Overberg Hermanus, right? And so I'm driving back the Thursday afternoon to Cape Town. And obviously it was like the long weekend from Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. On Thursday, from Grabouw, across Salaris Pass, Somerset Strand, that's the cars going to the Overberg on holiday. This didn't happen on the 20th of March or the days leading up to the 20th of March. People stayed at home. People didn't know what to expect.
No, I know they stayed at home.
They stayed at home, but they didn't go and have their holiday. They didn't go to their holiday homes. In fact, I'd like to know where those holiday homes are. People are homeless. We need those homes. They shouldn't just work for holidays. They should be housing people. So yeah, so I think it didn't really matter whether it was a public holiday. People were going to join, or that it fell in between a public holiday. And we decided that in January 27th in Johannesburg at our annual plenum, which is our annual planning for the EFF. So I think it was a good day to choose. A lot of people went to work. A lot of people wasted their time going to work because we shut down traffic in town. We sat there on the streets. Not a car could move, out.
I mean, that's pretty much the same strategy as the Cape Coloured Congress. They shut down on a smaller scale.
No,
That's how
no.
they gained
The
prominence.
Cape Coloured Congress had a shutdown during COVID, which eventually became a stand down after 15 minutes because they felt after 15 minutes they made their point. I remember. I poked a lot of fun about it. But, the problem with political parties is that we've been around for 10 years. There's a huge difference between mobilization and organization. We are one of the few new political parties that, as you say, came out of the rib of the ANC that are able to organize. So we could mobilize people around a cause, but we could also organize, which is why, unlike all the others, UDM, COPE, they've all withered away. We are still standing tall and taller after 10 years. Because of our ability to organize. Not just shutdowns, but as an organization. We exist in every metro. Not very many parties can say that. In fact, we exist in some places where there's no DA.
Yeah.
So I think that is something we're very good at. So when it comes to a shutdown, we are able to use that organization to implement the shutdown better than anyone in this country.
Look, I think the intended goal of that was to get a lot of press, and its mission accomplished on that. But I think that the stated intention, I don't think it quite panned out. But, it was...
Look, we are happy with it.
It's a symbolic, it was a needed thing.
Look, and what happened after that? So a lot of people thought, no, let's just stay at home, what happened in the lead up to the shutdown, 20th of March? People were saying, what's the EFF going to do? You will see it all over social media. You must have seen it. What's EFF's response to the load shedding? Everything was EFF's response, right? But when we had the shutdown, they sat in their homes and tweeted. And then load shedding came back. And I can actually show you people that says, we need another shutdown. And someone tagged me and said, look, here's someone that's saying we need a shutdown. So I said, okay. If we shut down, are you going to join? Are you going to mobilize people to join? And it's a colored person, of course, from Cape Town. And he said, no, I got things to do. Don't even give a date, but you'll have things to do. No, but that's it. We must stop being the type of people that want to benefit from a struggle, but not actively participate in that struggle.
There's very low political engagement.
Very low.
Look, let's talk about the ivory tower politics, just to close off. You remember Parliament.
Yeah.
What's it like to be in Parliament? Is it true that you're allowed to vape in Parliament? Is it true that you're allowed to smoke a Zol in Parliament?
I wasn't in Parliament. I was at home, and I wasn't even planning on logging in that particular day. And then one of the colleagues, it was his portfolio committee Q&A, and he says, "Hey, can you take it from me?" And I didn't want to. And you must never do something half-heartedly, because suddenly I left my camera on. With this thing, I had this thing, and without realize, so I'm about to read my speaking notes, and I leave my camera on, and
let's look at that video. That's really funny.
Of the rules, they will be enforced all the time. Honorable Gancho?
This guy.
Joe Magloa.
Just go back. I think it's.
But I want to say
That
something
mic
about
can't
that.
just be pressed anytime the minister sees fit. The rules be followed in attempt to
back more.
that she on a
Yes,
point
what
of order.
Why are you raising, honorable member?
All the way back. It's this.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, there we go. This is the one.
Is preparing to demonstrate at my residence.
I can laugh now, but it was
I hope it's
terrible
not
for me
true,
at the
honorable
time.
members.
On a point of order, Deputy Speaker.
I think it could be.
Look at it like a dragon.
Deputy Speaker.
That's
Yes, honorable.
Here's the intervention.
Deputy Speaker.
Yes, honorable
The
member.
glue must have his eyes checked.
So you didn't know that the camera was
Okay.
on.
Yeah.
Honorable members. Okay, let's proceed.
And then you
Don't
apologize
expect
for it.
Yeah.
But okay.
But here's the point I want to make. When I'm wrong, I'm not so arrogant.
Yeah, because they
Not
caught,
to
you
go
on, they
in a-
caught you on camera. You can't say it
No,
wasn't
but
me.
I'm caught on camera doing many things. I can justify why I did it. But yeah, I was wrong. It's not the kind of message that we must put out there. So
It's a really cool
and
profile picture, though. The dragon smoke coming out.
Let's see.
But look, on a serious note, what committees are you on in Parliament?
I'm on. I used to serve on a lot of committees, but that's when we were lesser people, but lesser members. But now, I serve on the Forestry, Fisheries and Environment. It used to be Environment, Forestry and Fisheries, EFF.
Yeah.
And then I pointed it out to the minister. She spent a few million to change all the paraphernalia to Forestry, Fisheries and Environment, because it couldn't be the EFF.
So what are the issues that are on the table? The most
Well,
serious ones?
I must say, and this is where the EFF has championed the rights or the cause of the small-scale fishers, especially in the Western Cape, to some extent Northern Cape, because they've got a very small coastline, and Eastern Cape and KZN, where and when I say small-scale fishers, I mean fishers that it's small-scale fishers, just a grouping of mainly subsistence fishers, recreational fishers, your more indigenous fishers, people who subsistence fishers who do not have the infrastructure that these big fishing companies have. So whatever they catch, they must sell because they don't have a place to process, to store, and to market. So whatever they catch, they must sell, and sometimes they sell for very cheap. And with the Marine Living Resources Act, which which actually overlooked the existence of these small-scale fishes. And they had to go to court to be recognized. I imagine all those people from Saldanha, Hout Bay, Pearly Beach were not recognized as fishers. And here's the strangest thing. When they wrote that Marine Living Resources Act in the 90s, COSATU was part of it, overlooking small-scale fishers.
And then what happened?
And then they had to take government to court to be included in the Marine Living Resources Act. And it still hasn't been finalized, the inclusion of small-scale fishers. In fact, they're only waiting now for the Western Cape. And the intervention is actually an unworkable intervention, because they are speaking about cooperatives for small-scale fishers. So in little coastal towns or fishing towns where people were used to fishing, they must now be part of a co-op, and the co-op must decide. So it comes to like local management of fisheries, and people don't have the skills to do that.
Are you saying that an individual can't fall under the protections of this particular act? Or how does it affect the quotas that they're allocated?
So that it starts with quotas. So there's every cycle of 15 years. There's a cycle of 15 years, no longer like it used to be where you go and you get a permit to fish for the year. There's a cycle of 15 years, right, where you have to apply for a right to fish. Now you have two types. You've got the commercial fishers.
These are the big companies.
Those are the big companies, and
these are I&J,
Oceana, Sea Harvest.
Yeah.
The usual suspects.
What do they get? Let's break it down. What do the big players get?
So let's say there's there would be something known as the total allowable catch. So let's say the total allowable catch in tonnage of fish could be, let's say, 2 to 3 megatons per year. So they would say, like, okay, 70% of that will go to these commercial fishing companies, those big ones. And then 30% will be for small-scale fishers, which is actually wrong. There are far more small-scale fishers, and money, and the small-scale fishing is a broader distribution of the wealth of the ocean than what these commercial fishing companies are.
You know, that's why I like politics at committee level, because there's scope and it's out of the public eye. Like
That's
these
where the
coalitions
work
are,
happens.
for headlines and journals and politicos and people who consume it as content. Whereas the committee level, there's scope to work together, with other parties.
Yes.
Do you think with this particular issue in that committee, there's scope to actually work with the other members of that committee to bring about some kind of lasting resolution to this?
Look, I think also, I must say, the ANC do us no favors. I mean, the ANC, they are the bodyguards of white monopoly capital. They will always favor the big businesses as opposed to our small-scale indigenous fishers. So that is definitely a portfolio I would want to have under the EFF, along with minerals. In fact, every portfolio. So the ANC would. So they don't understand the impact of the decisions that they make. So they actually come and learn. I didn't have to learn about it. I grew up here. I mean, we used to get people coming around with a van and you could buy like a bunch of hake fresh.
The vans are disappeared.
Because there's no small-scale fishers to now, so now you
go
have to
straight to I&J.
You go straight to I&J and you must go pay that price. 90 rand a kilo of hake. Madness.
I mean, the price of Woolies picklefish.
Yo! I saw a steenbras at Woolworths for 400 rand.
Oh, true.
I've got 3 in my freezer.
No, man, but you also the guy that bought like 20 bottles of Prime for your daughter. So you kind of overcate
No, I buy it for the purchase from those people that they have classified as poachers, because those people must have a living.
Look, I don't know. Are we gonna have one more go at playing this TikTok, or the gremlins are really in the works today?
Yeah,
let's check that. This is the review of Prime.
Last month, my parents refused to give me Prime because it was 500 in a bottle. But look here, ta-da! My dad finally got me Prime. So my dad managed to get me it because it was much cheaper. So let's see what the fuss is all about. Why are people drinking Prime? So is Prime worth 500 rand or is it worth 40 rand? Because it looks like normal energy. That tastes like
You're
or
good.
does it taste like a tropical punch? Let's taste. Wait, one more sip. It kind of tastes like the cooling mommy puts me in for school. Okay guys, on a serious note, I think there should be one then because it tastes like a banana lick. In fact, it should be 50 cents. It's not worth 40 rand. They took us for a fool. So disappointed. We should sue them for 5 million rand. People wasted their money.
I'm in the business of suing, baby.
Father like daughter.
No, I think you are just here to prepare the way for your daughter as an influencer.
No, actually, I'm here to prepare the way for my daughter to one day be the first female president of the country.
Politicians are getting older.
Yeah, I mean, they are 30 years older than me, and I consider myself old.
I don't know, retirement age for politicians seems to be how long can you live?
Yeah, no, look, we should definitely implement. Look, I don't want to be an ageist, right?
Sure, there's a needle to thread.
But I think that we should decide, if I look at what I have to do as an EFF member of parliament, over and above my parliamentary work, being in committees, going to sittings, going to oversight, going to public hearings, there's also the organizational work. Neither one should suffer. Because if my organizational work suffers, we could wither away as a party, our votes could reduce, we could lose seats. I could be that one losing a seat. Not that I would want a seat again, but anyway, I must always keep my options open. And also, so you must do your organizational work. And if you are unable to do that work, you must be honest and say, let me rather pursue something else. Because as an EFF member of parliament, you've got 2 jobs. Because as in my case, I have to leave tomorrow morning to go and do disciplinary hearings in Limpopo. So over and above.
I have to ask why? What happened there? Or is it under?
Look, it's Are
you regularly on these?
Yeah, I've been on it for the past. Ever since I've been a member of the CCT, I've been on the disciplinary committee. I enforce discipline. I'm a very disciplined person. Look at we want like I say. As an EFF public rep, you've got your parliamentary or your legislative or your council work. You also have your organizational responsibilities. You must go and service your branches, your region, your province where you are deployed. If you fail there, it has dire consequences for the organization. Just like if you fail to do your parliamentary work. So you can't do the one and not the other. You must do both. So if you lack on one, you appear before the disciplinary committee. So that is what I'm going to do. People have failed in their revolutionary duty, and I have to apply revolutionary discipline.
I've got one more question for you. If you weren't doing what you're doing, being an EFF MP, what would you be doing?
Well, I drove past the campus where I lectured in the engineering faculty at CPUT. And whenever I drive past there, I've got this colleague with me and he says, just imagine you would have been lecturing there now. I said, no, if I had been there now, I'd have been the Vice Chancellor.
Vice Chancellors are under attack these days, but that's a topic for another day.
Yeah, look, it goes with the territory.
Yeah.
Just like being a member of parliament for the EFF, it's not your little parties like the DA who do not ruffle any feathers. They want to be everyone's friend. They want to play nice, like the ANC. We're not here to play nice. We're here for justice.
I just want to leave you with two words when it comes to coalitions, when it comes to anything. First principles. First principles are going to be very important.
I agree.
Nazeer, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in. It's nice to catch up with you. We've known each other since 2009.
2009 is a long time.
A long time.
Yo, I've had 3 kids since then. Wait, 2 kids.
I've had 3 heart attacks since then.
Are you serious?
Yeah, we'll talk about it off air.
Sure.
But it's good, all good. Nantel, thanks a lot. Nazeer, thanks a lot. On that note, we'll see you next Monday.